Muy buena gente, aquí estamos en The Outer Worlds. Estamos en un capítulito más. Estamos yendo ahora a por Phineas. Así que vamos a darle cañita a esto. Yo creo que en este capítulo, si no en este capítulo, en el siguiente terminamos porque el boss se me puede complicar un poquito. Vale. Buenas tardes. Ahí está Phineas atrás.
You've upset the natural order of things. You've introduced uncertainty, and there is nothing I despise more than uncertainty.
Bueno. Vamos a liberar a Alción y no puedes hacer absolutamente nada para impedirlo. No te calles ni debajo del agua, te pagan por hablar. Se acabó Sofía. Ríndete.
I'm afraid I can't do that. I'm aware of your diplomatic talents, Captain. You have a gift for manipulation, but I warn you.
Bueno, todo un poco de diálogo, nada más.
For all your talents, you are the enemy of Halcyon, and therefore you are my enemy.
Vale. Debes cumplir con tu deber o morir en el intento. Muy bien, ya estás tardando. Como quieras, voy a disfrutar haciéndote morder el polvo. He venido a por Phineas, suéltalo.
You make a nuanced and compelling argument. Here's my rebuttal. No.
Bueno, pues tendrás que morir.
Dr. Wells is being held in my custody. His cooperation will prove invaluable, even if I have to beat it out of him. All that's left to do is put down this riot, arrest you, and then get on with the bloody business of saving this colony.
Salvarte que puta inútil. Matarte no me va a producir ninguna satisfacción. No me pongas a prueba, Sofía. Puede ser perjudicial para tu salud.
I'm aware of your propensity for violence. Halcyon is a bloodier place because of you. I wish you'd simply cooperated with me. You're the finest marksman in Halcyon. You could have been my gun.
Gracias. Pero voy a rescatar a Phineas, te pongas como te pongas.
I had a feeling you'd say that. This prison is equipped with an automechanical warden. I've had it programmed to eliminate you on sight and rinse your remains down a drain. And don't worry. I will inform Dr. Wells that you died heroically or something.
Bueno, pues vamos a matarlo. Por este lado. Muy bien, se viene el boss. ¿Esta gente me ayuda con el boss? La cuestión es que cuando mueran ya no se puede levantar. Es un putadón que te cagas. Vale, tenemos esto. Este no, ¿dónde estaba? Trajería 10. Sería 5. 101, vamos. Abrir esto. Puta madre. Ah, lo puedo ver ya. Nivel de pirateo demasiado bajo. Me cago en tus muertos. O de pirateo sí que estoy jodido. ¡Qué putada! De pirateo sí que estoy en la mierda. Ahí sí. Ahí me ha pillado. Putadón. Pirateo. Persuasión, ingeniería. Ingeniería. Pirateo 7. No, pero necesito 30 de pirateo, tío. Posible. Tracción, persuasión. Ah, qué putada. Necesito 30 más, tío. A lo mejor me sería mucho más fácil, pero bueno. Vamos a hacer un guardado aquí. Toda partida. Y que sea lo que tenga que ser. Vamos a darle caña. No os peleéis de frente con el gilipollas. Bueno, es que los puedo usar para distraer. Pega un estuneo. Eh, vale, eso me gusta. Me gusta porque la ha distraído lo suficiente. Tiene mitad de vida ya. ¿Cómo lo tengo esto de parar? Esto de ponerme un poco de talentos en tecnología fue lo mejor, ¿eh? Porque es que poder repararlo aquí sin tener un puto banco de trabajo es la polla. Con su puta madre. Ah, está por ahí todavía. Vale, 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 vale. Vale, va a ser mucho más fácil, que la primera vez. O sea, de lejos. Vale, han resucitado, ¿eh? Tengo que aprovechar. Cuando se stunea, sale volando. Vale, le da daño ígneo. Me puede liar aquí, que flipas, eh. Vale. Joder. Vale, fuera. Lo tenemos casi, casi, ¿eh? Listo. Vale, ha sido bastante más sencillo que la primera vez me costó que te cagas. Llave de cámara de hibernación. La primera vez me costó, vamos, lo que no está escrito. Vale, supongo que si te rusheas la principal, es bastante más complicado. Pasa que te pierdes mogollón del juego. Vale. ¿Estáis listos, no, gente? Vamos a matar a la puta tonta esta de mierda. Tengo la arma reparada. Vamos a repararla. A pegarle un tiro a plena potencia. Podemos usar el rayo de control mental, ¿no? Buenas tardes. El rayo de control mental está rotísimo. La llave maestra decorativa del laberinto probablemente habrá la celda de la parte superior de la prisión. Ya voy a salvarte, no te rayes. Yo debería haber usado el rayo de control mental, porque es Jesucristo. Vale, se viene la cinemática final, gente.
You don't know how glad I am to see you. You did the right thing. Akande was a monster. Her death was much deserved. And
Efectivamente.
long overdue. And you lunatic, you broke into the board's own fortress just to rescue one doddering old man. You are absolutely out of your mind. And I can't begin to thank you enough.
¿Qué dices, hombre? La Junta nunca tuvo ninguna oportunidad contra mí.
Ah, all in a day's work for you, huh?
Sí, claro, ha sido un
You broke
pasadito.
the board's stranglehold on this colony, and you saved my life. But there's still so much we have yet to accomplish.
Efectivamente.
You and I are going to have to work harder than ever to save Halcyon. I'm afraid the situation is far worse than any of us ever anticipated.
Cuando yo que estaba a punto de escorchar un par de botellas para celebrarlo. Vamos a decirle esta, porque esta es como demasiado seria y esta pues un poco borde, ¿no? Vamos a decirle la segunda, que vamos de buen rollo. Estupendo. Yo que estaba a punto de escorchar un par de botellas para celebrarlo.
I would like nothing more than to celebrate this victory, but we have a serious problem on our hands. Earth has gone dark. We haven't received a single message in 3 years. There's been no communication, no signals, nothing.
No tiene buena pinta, ¿no?
2 years ago, the Earth's Directorate's frigate disappeared on their way back to Earth. We don't know what they discovered when they arrived, or if they arrived at all.
Hold on, Doc. Are you telling me the Earth went dark 3 years ago? And the board's just been covering this up?
They've been incredibly effective at concealing the truth. Right now, the only people in the colony who know are standing in this room.
They haven't exactly been hands-on around
Esto me
here
gusta que le
anyway.
quite los cascos en las
Everyone
zonas de
wants to
cinemática, me
understand
gusta
about.
mucho.
Earth is humanity's home planet, Miss Fenhill. The psychological effects of losing our original home will be devastating. We're in serious trouble, my friend. Do you know what this means for Halcyon? We can't rely on Earth for support anymore. We've been cut loose. We're entirely on our own.
Bueno, yo creo que podemos hacerlo bien. Tenemos mucho trabajo por delante. Será mejor que empecemos. Espera un momento, quiero preguntarte algo.
Yes, certainly. I'll help however I can.
Sé que se habían recibido mensajes nuevos desde la Tierra.
Yes, Akande mentioned as much. Earth hasn't sent us a single message in 3 years. No one knows why. Akande had kept the truth to herself, perhaps with good reason. Can you imagine what would have happened if word got out? We'd have utter pandemonium.
Podría ser, sí. Mentiste. Es lo de los otros colonos, Phineas. Estación de comunicación de Tila no ha interceptado ningún mensaje encriptado en 3 años.
Yes, you were the one who reactivated that relay station, weren't you? Any message from Earth would have arrived unencrypted. It's been 3 years since our last message. The board tried using drones to contact Earth. Every one of those drones sent back the same encrypted message. Earth is completely silent.
Vale, yo creo que esto ya pues un poco... es un poquito puta mierda, ¿no? Me mentiste, sé lo de los otros colonos Phineas.
I wasn't trying to hide the truth from you.
Solo que...
But after
porque
all you've done,
experimentó con otros colonos antes que conmigo.
Yes, I experimented on the host
Pero...
colonists.
bueno, ahí lo
But
dice.
each of my experiments ended in catastrophic failure. Each of my subjects died in agony. You are my first and only success. I didn't tell you about the others because I didn't want to burden you.
Ah, no te
My
rayes.
failures are my own to bear.
Hiciste lo que tenías que
Not
hacer,
yours.
una bruda. Te perdono, Phineas.
Thank you. Perhaps in time I'll learn to forgive myself. My apologies. I need to get a hold of myself. We've far more pressing issues to worry about right now. If you have any more questions, ask.
No tengo más preguntas, hay trabajo que hacer.
Yes, we do. You've done a marvelous thing. You've succeeded where anyone else would have failed, including me. We must begin the revival process immediately, starting with the Hope's brightest minds, and then we're going to fix this damn colony, one problem at a time. We're going to need a leader, and I can't imagine a better person for the job than you. What do you say, old friend? Will you help us?
Puedes contar conmigo. Te ayudaré a remover el resto de colonos.
I can't tell you how glad I am to hear that. When I revived you, I thought we were going to save this colony all by ourselves. But I was wrong. We can't save Halcyon on our own. We're all going to have to pull together somehow. We are not a colony anymore. Our last connection to Earth has been severed. I don't know if we'll survive, but we're going to have to try our best.
A ver cómo lo hemos hecho en esta última run, porque claro, la última nos faltó mogollón, pero ahora...
The OSI teaches that everything in the universe happens according to the grand plan. But the stranger that arrived in Halcyon was an unplanned variable. From the moment he landed in Emerald Vale, his actions altered the course of history. The events on Tartarus brought about the end of the board's authority. But the board's mistakes would haunt the colony for decades to come. The damage they left behind would require the work of a generation to repair. Dr. Phineas Wells began reviving a handful of the Hope's colonists: engineers, scientists, technicians, and intellectuals. They were among the brightest minds the Earth had ever sent out into the stars. The Hope scientists and engineers woke up in a colony descending headlong into total collapse. With no way to return to Earth, they had no choice but to band together.
Claro, no había más. O esa fue la colonia o nos morimos todos. No queda otra.
The people of Halcyon were nothing if not hardy. In the absence of the board's authority, many of the colony's settlements banded together with a single purpose in mind: survival. Life was especially hard in the years to come. Some towns dissolved by attrition and starvation, but most of them found a way to carry on. In the years to come, Halcyon was forced to reckon with its newfound freedom. The board was gone, and for better or worse,
Bueno,
the colony was
yo creo que saldría
responsible
bien.
for its own destiny. As the colony struggled to survive, the inspirational story of the iconoclasts spread like wildfire, and Graham was able to bring many of the smaller Terra-2 townships into the fold. However, his zealous obsession with spreading the word blinded him to the needs of a growing organization, and the movement was unsustainable at scale. The iconoclast way seemed to work best, and ultimately petered out on Monarch. Consumed by paranoia,
Ah, la paya esta.
Hagen took Sublight Salvage in a controversial direction, openly accusing board officials of an extraterrestrial conspiracy. One day, an accident at the Groundbreaker's docking bay silenced her forever. Time would tell if her replacement could keep the Sublight family together. The collapse of Edgewater left its workers bereft of any purpose in life.
Esto es lo que no me termina de convencer, pero bueno, está bien.
Camp, hoping to ingratiate themselves into her favor. Adelaide accepted only a few to her community. The rest were turned away and likely died of starvation. Nevertheless, Adelaide's camp grew into a well-established town. Adelaide McDevitt refused to cooperate.
¿Ves? Esto es lo que me pica un poco, que no quería salvar a Alción, solo se preocupaba por ella.
A sympathetic deserter stole a copy of her research.
Pero bueno, salió bien.
Delivered it to the Hope's scientists. It is unclear how useful Adelaide's research was. An optimistic estimate suggests her work may have bought Halcyon another few years of survival. Adelaide would never know. She died that winter. Under the leadership of Junlei Tennyson, the Groundbreaker held firm against corporate influence. The ship's mechanical stability gave Junlei the time to educate a promising generation of engineers, schooled in her family's traditions.
Bien.
The future of the Groundbreaker looks promising. The rediscovery of the Hope and the abandonment of the lifetime employment program forced Byzantium to come to terms with some uncomfortable realities about the state of Halcyon. While Byzantines were reluctant to surrender the luxuries they'd grown accustomed to, the board's diminished authority gave them little choice in the matter. Nearly everyone
Tienen que
had
trabajar, ya ves
to
tú, porque
make
trabajan
do with
desgraciados.
less. Some even had to get jobs. It was a dark time indeed. Your influence shifted Ellie's perspective. She finally admitted, albeit grudgingly, that she just might need other people. Sometimes. With a steady income from the life insurance payouts, she was finally able to afford a ship of her own. She hired a small crew and flew supply missions to communities on the fringe. Some of them were even legal.
Bueno, un avance.
Alción was sobering for Felix Millstone. The grand revolution he dreamed of never came. There was no great awakening for the colony, no celebrations in the streets. There was only the hard, desperate work of trying to repair a broken colony. Felix never had a head for numbers, but if there was labor to be done, he was there to help. Eventually, Felix realized that the work of a revolution was done with two hands. As hard as she tried to drink them away,
Ah, la
Nyoko's
tía esta. Esta tía no sé qué pasó con ella. Me parece que era un posible acompañante.
Traveling with the crew served as a constant
Pero
reminder
no,
of the family she'd
no
lost.
lo conseguí.
And so she
Me faltaban dos
eventually returned
acompañantes.
to
No sé cuál es el
Moscow
otro.
to get back to what she found most comfortable. The deep end of a bottle and the far end of a trail. Few have seen her
Me habría
since.
gustado porque a lo
but
mejor me parece que esta era
travelers often
francotiradora o
swear
algo por el
they
estilo.
hear her and her machine gun in the night, screaming swears and spitting bullets. The SAM unit that accompanied
SAM.
you spread awareness of the product line's superior sanitation and maintenance capabilities across what was left of the colony. This led to a boost in SAM unit sales. Did you know that SAM units are the longest-lasting,
Ay,
toughest-acting
grande
cleaning
Sam,
solution
puto
in
amo Sam.
Alción? Minister Clark was released from house arrest, and his contact with you gave him a sense of renewed purpose and vigor. Once it became clear that no help would be coming from Earth, he threw his considerable efforts and talents into helping Halcyon manage the crisis before it. As for Dr. Phineas Wells, he spent his remaining years in his orbital lab. Though he was always haunted by the failures of his past, he was determined to make things right by building toward the future. Dr. Wells was able to revive many more scientists and engineers than he first expected, thanks to the additional batch of
Sí,
chemicals
costó unas
you
cuantas
sold in
vidas,
the
pero
ministry.
está bien.
Wells never forgot about the human lives that were lost in acquiring these
Claro.
chemicals. The revival project was hard and painful work, but in the end, despite limited resources, over half the Hope's colonists were successfully revived.
Se
Even after
murió.
Wells passed away, the Hope scientists and engineers worked night and day to pull Halcyon from the brink of collapse. Their efforts continue to this day, which may be reason enough for optimism. Dr. Wells laid the groundwork for the project to save the colony, but he would never live to see the fruits of his labor. He passed away a few years later. His work was carried on by the scientists and engineers he revived. Life will never be the same in Halcyon. It is widely agreed that the colony has a chance of stabilizing within a generation, owing to the hard work and determination of the surviving colonists. Recovery is a distant goal, and the path is long and uncertain. But the people of Halcyon carry on, determined as ever.
Nice.
And what about you, the unplanned variable in the history of Halcyon? Long after Wells passed away, you carried on his work with more energy, determination, and brilliance than he could ever muster. The years that followed were hard, but Halcyon survived by the efforts of the Hope's most promising colonists, the greatest of which was you. No one knows what's happened to Earth, and no one knows what the future has in store for Halcyon. All we know for certain is this: the name of the Unreliable and that of its intrepid captain will remain the subject of countless stories for years to come.
Putos amos. Let's go. Vale, pues ahora sí que sí. Hemos terminado The Outer Worlds definitivamente. Me ha puesto la piel de gallina. Oh, Dios. Espero que os haya gustado esta serie. Sí que ha sido una serie bastante larga y ha durado bastante tiempo porque no he podido grabar muy asiduamente. Pero creo que os ha gustado mucho, la verdad. Y me ha flipado el juego. Me ha encantado. Seguramente lo vuelva a jugar. A lo mejor lo juego de parte de la Junta. O sea, lo juego contra... Bueno, claro, lo juego con la Junta. O sea, iré contra Phineas y contra esta gente. Y a ver cómo es el final. Pero no lo subiré lógicamente porque no quiero volver a hacer otra serie de 42 capítulos. Nada más que... Pero jugando a la inversa. La próxima serie será Rage 2. Y nada más. Espero que os haya gustado esta pedazo de serie, este pedazo de juegazo. Y nos vemos en el próximo vídeo, capítulo, directo, lo que cojones sea, ¿vale, gente? Hasta luego. Y hasta siempre, Outer Worlds.